Welcome to a special weekend edition of BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. So good to have you with me this afternoon. And on Wednesday, I said I would have coverage of South Carolina versus Pangalangan. How you doing, Mo? What's good? I said I would have that coverage. If I missed anything, well, somehow I was able to miss nothing. In fact, hang on, guys. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a link just in case you want to join this open panel. Mm-hmm. So if you're joining me here on YouTube and you want to join in on the open panel, you want to have your say in regard to the total end game, that was the case between the case of South Carolina versus King. I'm asking you to join the live open panel. Click or copy and paste this link in a new browser window or tab. There's the link. Let me pin that. And it's done. Come on in, join me. Mm. Fed up about what? Oh, but then again, maybe it's best I don't ask. Okay. All right. I promise you coverage. And coverage is what you're gonna get, ladies and gentlemen. But before I even do that, I want to bring you up to speed on a case that I'm also following as well. Remember, I talked about this young lady, 18 years of age, who wanted to hire a hitman to murder her 3-year-old child. Yeah, her name is Jasmine Paez. She went to this fake parody site, rentahitman.com, to try to hire a contract killer, a hitman, if you will, and was willing to pay $3,000 for this person to kill her 3-year-old child. Have I got an update for you on that case? Because just when you think it couldn't get any weirder than that, just when you think it couldn't get, in my personal opinion, just when you think it couldn't get more foolish than that, it got a little bit more foolish than that. You see, there has been a second arrest made in that case. Oh, I feel you, Mo. I feel you. If you're fed up about that, then the update I want to bring you about Jasmine Paez is really gonna burn your bacon. What I'm reading here is come courtesy of Law and Crime Trial Network. A second arrest has been made in the case of a mother who allegedly went to a parody website thinking she was hiring a real contract killer to murder her child. 18-year-old Jasmine Paez was arrested in July for allegedly soliciting the murder of her 3-year-old son. As previously reported, she allegedly went to Rent a Hitman, a fake website, and put in a request for her young son to be murdered. Website owner Robert Ennis, along by the specificity of the apparently serious request, flagged police in Miami, Florida. On Monday, Miami-Dade authorities arrested Gamaliel Sosa, also 18, in connection with the alleged plot. According to an arrest affidavit, a search of Paez's cell phone revealed conversations between the two teenagers in which Sosa appears to have indicated that her child was the only thing that stood between them. The kid is the problem. I hope you see that, Sosa reportedly said, according to the affidavit. All I ever wanted was to free you. I told you about the kid. You won't do anything. You do it, and I'll think about coming back, Sosa also allegedly said in messages to Paez. The affidavit implies that Paez tried to convince Sosa that she did what he had apparently wanted. Ms. Jasmine Paez stated that she took her son to the woods and left him there to be eaten by bears or drowned in the water, the affidavit said. Sosa responded to her message by asking for a picture as proof. Like Paez, Sosa is now charged with 1 count of first-degree conspiracy to commit murder and 1 count of unlawful use of a communications device. Sosa confessed during a post-Miranda interview with police, according to the affidavit. Sosa was granted a $15,000 bond in order to have no contact with the child or anyone under the age of 18. This is according to South Florida NBC affiliate WTVJ. Paez had been previously granted that bond for the same amount and also ordered to stay away from her son. Guys, how you doing, Vanessa? Oh, you had no idea. Oh my gosh, that is what is so crazy about that case. So if I'm trying to wrap my head all around this, I'm trying to wrap my head all around this, the girl couldn't get the job done by leaving her son in the woods. So she goes and she decides she wants to hire a hitman to do the job. Don't want to get her hands dirty, yet and still she wants to get back with the guy who left her because of the kid. Because the guy said, the only thing standing between you, me, and happiness is the kid. Get rid of the kid, and I'll think about coming back. That is that. I know, and I know what you're thinking. You guys in the chat, you got to be thinking that is absolutely despicable. How old was the baby? 3 years old, and the baby's alive. It's all good, Mo. The 3-year-old is alive. There was no hitman. Jasmine Paez is arrested on the same charges I just mentioned minutes ago. First degree conspiracy to commit murder and unlawful use of a communications device. the child is in foster care, and both Paez and Sosa they're out on bail, but they can't have any contact with anybody under the age of 18. Paez, worst of all, she can't have any contact with her son. It's crazy. Oh, let me go ahead and get down. Let's get down with what we came here for, right? We are going to put a nice tidy bow who is Sosa again? Who is Sosa again? Gamaliel Sosa. If I'm pronouncing the first name right, if I'm not, somebody will forgive me. But he is the quote unquote I'll say ex-boyfriend, because he did leave her for a time. But he was the one who convinced Paez to get rid of the kid, quote unquote, because the kid was ruining their chances at happiness. Now, I'm only saying it this way because that's how I'm reading that. Yeah, my sentiment exactly. Ugh. In a way, you know what? It kind of reminds me of an episode of Steve Wilkos. You got this woman on the show. Her boyfriend finds out that the child they have is not theirs, and the guy tells her to get rid of the child out, and the woman does so. Oh boy, hold on, guys. I believe I have a knock at my door. Hang on. Ooh, wait, look at here. Don't mind me, guys. I just had got a delivery from FedEx for my wife. Anyway, so let me see where we're going back to this. Now, back to business. We're gonna go ahead and put a nice tidy bow on South Carolina versus Pangalangan. And the best way to start that off is with closing arguments. Now, why am I starting with closing arguments? Simple. I'm starting with closing arguments because, unlike what we were told, originally Rita Pangalangan decided she was not going to testify. Okay, there we go. So, all right. So, wait a second. Let me go ahead and get this set up for you here. Get my This is what I need right here from my Microsoft Word, so I can hit this copyright disclaimer. All right. All right. Now that we got that on the up and up, Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, closing arguments in South Carolina versus Pangalangan, beginning with the prosecution.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've now heard all of the testimony. You've now received all of the evidence. It's now time for closing arguments. If you will give counsel your attention, first by the state.
Please, Court.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to talk to you very briefly today about what we know, what evidence we've heard, what testimony you've heard, what you've seen, from everything on the video to the chemical analysis to the experts to everything. What I want to talk about right now is just what we know. There's the question. We start with Christina. Christina was a child born with cerebral palsy. She could not walk. She couldn't grasp. She couldn't talk. She could show emotion, because you've seen, versus this photograph, you can see the child can show emotions, and that's going to be relevant in a few minutes to what I'm talking about. But Christina was not like other girls. She was totally dependent, 100%, on other people. She was dependent on everybody for somebody to take care of her, somebody to give her food, somebody to give her water, somebody to keep her safe. Christina was totally dependent on Rita to do all of those things. Every day. Every day. Not just on Rita's good days. Not just on days when Rita is posing for photographs. Not just when Rita is sober. But even on the days when Rita chooses to go hang out with Larry and get high on meth. Christina was dependent upon her then too. Wholly dependent on her. Even when Rita was high. And you heard testimony from defense witnesses, and they came in and they told you what they did. One had not really had much contact with her for 18 years, except through Facebook. Her daughter came in and said what her daughter should say. She's a good mother. But neither one of them knew about the meth. Neither one of them. And we know on that day, where none of those witnesses were, they didn't know what was going on. On that day, on that weekend, on that Friday, that Saturday, the Sunday, and the Monday, we know that they were on a meth bender. We know it because we took their blood. You know it because you had a chemist, 1, 2, 3 chemists come in and tell you that. Methamphetamine in both Rita's blood as well as Larry, and all well over the limit that would make them high. And if you didn't, for whatever reason, think that was enough, Larry told you the same thing. He didn't want to, but he did. He hadn't slept in 3 days. He and Rita had been doing meth. She liked to put it in her coffee. He didn't want to tell us, but he did. And we know that. And that little girl was dependent upon Rita to take care of her, to keep her safe. Rita was high. And neither her daughter knew about that, nor the other lady would testify. But we know that. Not any shadow of that. What else do we know? We know that Larry had first of all, we know that in the middle of that bender, Rita and Larry get in Larry's truck and go get the child and bring her into that environment where they're getting high. And they go in and they stay the night. And we now know that Larry had a security system, a very good one, a very sensitive one, one that would pick up any type of motion going in and around the car. And we know, because there's direct testimony, that there was no motion around that car at all until 11:15. saw with these two going to the car. So what do we know? The car's not on. There's no air conditioning. Nobody's been near that car. Unless the angle was that they parked the night before and left the car running with the air conditioner on. But nobody said that. Larry said, oh, the car was running when we put the child in. Because Larry needed to say.
I paused it. Oh, let's see. Somebody just where the wind blows just asked how hot was she when she was found? The core temperature said that she was 109.9. To make this graphic, and I don't mean to make it graphic. The best accurate description was that the car was like a confection oven. The outside temperature ran between 88 and 91 degrees outside. Let's see, this little girl I watched yesterday, I told my husband she was the size of a 7-year-old. Yeah. The temperature outside of the car ran between 88 and 91 degrees. So if anybody's paid attention to the BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded, where I do this every year, my annual PSA about leaving your child in a hot car, leaving your pet in a hot car. The inside of the car gets a whopping 20 degrees hotter. And when you throw in the humidity in a state like South Carolina, in the words of Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, your child's chances of surviving drastic go down. In this case, you got a 13-year-old girl who is disabled, who is nonverbal. She can't cry out for help. She can't do anything. She can't fend for herself. Yet she's in a car. Look, let's see what we got. In California, where the guy show black top gets 60 degrees hotter. See? You see where the wind blows gets it. "13 years of age, disabled, nonverbal, can't fend for herself, inside a car. The car inside during that time, 5 hours long. The temperatures inside the car got anywhere between 130 and 135 degrees. It's sick. It's sick. And the lame excuse some parents will use is, "Oh, I forgot. Yeah. And yeah, you forgot your child in a hot car, and I'm asking my wife right now for 50 cents so I can go to Starbucks later for a cup of coffee." Anyway, I stopped the video so you can get a good look at Mommy Dearest here, Rita Pangalangan. Is anybody paying attention to the way her head just kept going? Her head kept going. I'm gonna let your imagination run wild, and let you ask yourself the question: is she on something? Just say it.
The car was trying to move with the child in. Not because it was true. And you know, because you could see it. Car went on. There wasn't very much. And they left the child in that car for 1 hour and 15 minutes before there was any more motion, before there was any more interaction with that car. We know because of, flip these back around. We know that as of about 11 o'clock is when, about 12 o'clock is when the heat starts spiking inside the car. We know that because we actually brought an expert, Dr. Grunstein, to come testify to you about what happens inside the car when it's that hot outside in August in South Carolina. And this spike starts right after 12 o'clock. Until then, it's about the same as the car. So you're talking about 90 degrees to begin with. And by the time they go back to that car at 12:15, Larry doesn't go back to the car, but Rita does. We're already over here. The heat inside that car is now approaching 100 degrees. And now I want to go back to this. And first of all, let me just stop this here. If all they had done was put that child in a hot car in the middle of August and left that child there for 1 hour and 15 minutes, in some way, miraculously, somebody had come along and gotten that child out, I submit to you they still would have inflicted serious bodily injury on that child, because the definition of serious bodily injury is the likelihood that it could cause serious impairment or death. And I don't think there's any question at all what the end of this result was. If we stop there, you have that. And did they do it together? Absolutely. Even Larry testified to that. We did everything together. Put them in the car together, and you see that? We left them in the car together. And there's your conspiracy. That's not all we have. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there. Unfortunately, the child was not rescued from the people that she depended on or anybody else. So now we're at 12:15. Child has been in the child's been down in the car for 1 hour and 15 minutes. No air, no wind, not even a cracked window. Now, Rita goes back to the car. And she opens both doors. She opened both doors with air conditioning on. She's opening both doors, maybe let a little wind out of there, which is the only considerate thing she did in this entire event. Do you know what else she did? She looked inside the car. And now I want you to think about something. Go back to Christine's picture. This child can show emotion. She can't scream and she can't talk, but she can show emotion. You can see it in her face. So what did she look like when her mother was looking at her after being left in a hot car by herself with no wind in 100-degree heat for 1 hour and 15 minutes? Rita see when she looks at the car. Child's got to be going, oh, that's not a happy face in the car. After 1 hour and 15 minutes of this heat in that car by herself, a child who's totally dependent on others, she's begging for help. So what does Rita do? She closes the door and goes back inside with Larry. First time, she and Larry put the child in the car. And they go inside, as Larry says.
Okay, let me correct myself here. I'm looking at the lady in the pink. I thought that was Rita Pangalangan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's rare when I do this live, but I'm saying it here. My bad. I thought for sure that was Rita Pangalangan. I'm looking at, I saw the camera pan over to the defense side of the courtroom, and I saw Larry King, and you can't mistake him. Let's see. I got mad watching him on the stand. He thinks he a bad boy. That well, they did a lot of thinking in this case. Remember, they thought when they put Christina in the back of that car, they thought they left the air conditioner on. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this in Brittany's chat last night. I think I said this a couple of times. I say this around my wife, and she even says it back to me on occasion. But I'm using the same quote my dad has used for many, many years. Dad, I love you. May you rest in peace. He would always say, think long, think wrong. Just like I thought the lady in the pink was Rita Pangalangan, I was wrong. Just like they thought 5 hours and 41 minutes. Come on, both of them. Let's see, Mo's a paraplegic. Mo says she's a paraplegic and wheelchair dependent, but still very independent. I just can't imagine what that baby went through. I can't either, but I can give it to you in a one-word short answer. Torture. You're left in the you are left in the back of a car for 5 hours in triple-digit heat. How you doing, Deanna? I'm late, but I'll be listening while starting dinner. Great. Nope. I'm glad to have you here. You put this child, disabled, 13 years of age, nonverbal, in the back of the car, and leave her in there for 5 hours. And you are doing absolutely nothing except handling your business in one form or another, but yet conveniently, oh, I forgot my child's in the car. Oh my God, I forgot the key fob is in the car. Somebody once said that somebody actually believed, it's probably during the victim impact statement or some impact statement, that Rita truly loved Christina. And then somebody quoted Denzel Washington. I believe Brittany did it. She said, "Love would have busted Christina out of that car." And to this very second, I believe her. Love would have busted Christina out of that car, and likely she would probably be alive today. But then again, that's my opinion. What's yours?
To have sex. So while they're inside having sex, the child is out in the car. She comes back out, looks at the child. The child at this point had to be begging. She closes the door and goes back inside to spend some more time with Larry. Which, by the way, would be the last time anyone approaches that car to look after that girl until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They go back on the porch. They go back on the porch about an hour and a half later. They don't actually walk out into the car and go see the car. It's been another hour and 15 minutes. They go back out on the porch. They hang out on the porch. And now it's 2 o'clock, 2:02 to be exact. Neither one of them approached the car. The girl is still in there. And what's going on inside the car now? Now it's 2 o'clock, 11, 12, 1, 2. Take a look at the temperature inside that car now. It's now reached that maximum temperature. It's getting close to that maximum temperature. It's well over 110, 115 degrees inside that car. And they come back out. And do they go check on it? No. What do they do? They hug. They kiss. And then they go back inside for another hour and 15 minutes. The child is literally cooking to death in the car. And they're going back inside again. And they stay in there for an hour and 15 minutes. And then they come back out. This time, Rita actually walks to the car. This is when she finds that the keys are locked in the car. But pay very close attention to this. Where does Rita walk when she walks out of the house? It's now 3 o'clock. The child has been in the car since 11:15. The heat is now at well over 118 degrees. Inside the car, it feels like 135 degrees. You've heard testimony from experts giving you that testimony. And where does Rita go? Did she go to the side that the child's on to check on her? Is she trying to get in the car to drive? No. What's she doing? She's going to get her cigarettes. In the back seat of the car, where they put this child at 11:15, there was a bag in the back seat. Right beside the child. And inside that bag was this. A gun.
Renewed objection.
And not only
401, 403.
May proceed.
And not only was it a gun, it was a loaded gun.
Let me stop there, and I gotta go ahead and join you all in agreement. Who puts the value of a car window over the safety of your child? I said minutes ago that love would have busted that little girl out of that hot car, regardless of how much. I mean, we've said this time and time again. Brittany said this time and time again. I'm echoing this. You can replace the car window. Christina cannot be replaced. You can't. I mean, my God. This girl is baking in a car, and mama, wink, wink, yuck, yuck, is worried about the price of a car window. Are you kidding me right now?
No.
I'm telling everybody within earshot of my voice. If it were my child, I would only have 3 choices: my fist, my elbow, or my foot, because that car window's getting busted. I'm just saying. Back to the prosecutor closing argument.
It's overruled.
Again, in a bag, right beside this child. And right there, also, are the cigarettes. She walks back out to the car at 3 o'clock. She's still not going to check on the child. She's not even going to drive away. been in the car since 11:15. It is now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It is well over 118 degrees inside that car. It feels like 135. They have found that the keys are locked in the car. So what do? Naturally, they break the window. No, they don't. Because it's too expensive, so break the window.
Objection, yesterday, if it's not vaccinated.
Let's go.
Ruling, Your Honor, it was sustained.
Objection is overruled.
Thank you. Break the window? Now. What do? They hang out. They get on the swing and start swinging back and forth. It's now 3:19. 19 minutes after they found that the child is locked in the car with the keys. 19 minutes after we know for a fact it's already 118 degrees inside the car. And what are they doing? They're swinging. Is there any sense of urgency here? Is at any point in time they're going to say, hey, we need to take care of this child? No, we're swinging. And then what do? They eventually go to Larry's truck, which is parked out back. And now what do? It is now 39 minutes later. It is 3:39. They're still at the house. And they're kissing. They're not taking care of the child. They're not thinking about the child. They're thinking about themselves. So then let's go get a spirit key. This is where the child is. And this is where Larry and Rita go to go get a spare key, which is why they don't get back for 52 minutes. The child's locked in the car at 3 o'clock. They don't get back until 4. Any sense of urgency there? Any concern for the health and welfare of that child? Did the child even cross their minds? Because they were hot. And they were interested in each other. And they were interested in kissing, hugging, spending time with each other, and having sex. Even the doctor talked about the increased libido as a result of being high on that. And you see it in all these pictures, because that's what they're concerned about. Not an ounce of concern for that child. 52 minutes. And then when they get back, they arrive 4:40. They get back to the house at 4:40. They're in Larry's truck. Thank goodness they've got a key. They can come rescue this child now. When did they get out of the truck? They don't open the door till 4:44. They sit in the truck for 4 minutes and talking and hanging out. Again, no concern for the child whatsoever. They're just hanging out in the truck. And eventually they get out. And they approach the car. And when they do, neither one of them are sober enough to even figure out how to unlock the car. Larry testified, I'm pushing the unlock button, but it's not unlocking. It's because he's locking it. He's locking it, he's unlocking, he's pushing it. And the testimony that you heard from Captain Chapman, but also from even Larry, pushing the button and the light's coming on when I'm pushing the button, but it's not unlocking. And what you know is that when it's hit the emergency flasher, it's going flash, flash, flash. But at the end, when it goes blink, 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 that's hitting the lock and the unlock. I think it's 1 for lock, maybe 2 for unlock, I don't know. But the point is that you can't do that if the car is on. But we already do that. You know how you know that? Because otherwise, if you spend 5 hours in the car in South Carolina driving around with your air conditioning on, we would all be dead. Clearly the air conditioning wasn't on. They may have thought it was, but clearly the car wasn't on, the air conditioning wasn't on. And why?
Like I said earlier, thank you where the wind blows. Oz, I appreciate that. Like I said earlier, they done a lot of thinking over all this. And like my dad would say, think long, think wrong. And that kind of wrong thinking end up costing the life of little Christina. Now here we are, the prosecutors laying down everything that they've presented in trial, and some people would say even through our closing arguments that the prosecutor didn't meet the burden of its case. And there are those like myself would say, the case has already been proven the moment the video was introduced. But again, that's just me, and that's why I have this channel. The two portions that are important at this point are your opinions that matter, and your voice gets to be heard. So guess what? Guess what I want to hear? Whether the wind blows, it must agrees with what I just said, but I want to hear more than just anybody agreeing with me. I would actually like to hear somebody play devil's advocate for the other side while I continue with the prosecutor's closing arguments.
Why do we know that? Because the child cooked to death. That's why. And also something else. Not one piece of testimony, not one person, not one came in here and said, I turned the car on. Larry said, the car was already on when I put the child in there. Although we know that's not true. Did Larry say he turned the car on? No. What did Larry say? I turned the car off. And we'll get to that in just a second. So they get the child and they pull the child out of the car. What happens then? Oh, and by the way, one other thing too. They haven't gotten the child out of the car yet. They can't figure out how to unlock it. It's now 4:47, and they're back to hug it again. That's not a distraught picture because they haven't pulled the child out of the car yet. They're still hugging and kissing. They still haven't focused on the child. And eventually we get the child out of the car. And what happens after that? They pull the child up. They pull the child out. Larry calls 911. What does Rita do? She leaves. When Hallie Godley gets there, Rita's nowhere to be found. She's inside the house. And that's particularly relevant for what we're going to talk about in just a second. He calls 911, but before the police get there, what does he say? I reached in and turned the car off. Why would you do that? Think about it. They just pulled a dead child out of the car. He's calling 911. Police are on the way. Why does he reach in the car and turn it off? Don't want to waste gas? What? Why would you in any way, shape, or form stop what you're doing when there is a dead child?
Whoa. Time out. Whoa. You call 911 and you're able to get the child out and turn the car off. Yet you were unable to get the car open earlier. Somebody please make this make sense. Make that make sense, please, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Let's see. In court, he was not my kid. I don't care for her. No feeding, no bathing. A lot more than that to care for a little girl like that. If healthy, she should have been able to stumble around at least. Okay, now we're talking. This is what I was talking about earlier. Somebody playing devil's advocate. This is why I say I want to have lively debates on this channel. And as far as what just happened moments ago, it makes 0 sense. Yes, absolutely. If you were able to get the girl out of the car, then you should have been able to get her out of that car a good hour after you put her in there in the first place. But instead, you leave her in there for five freaking hours, and she is cooking. She is cooking inside the car, windows up. Of course he was. Anybody who's seen the videotape saw just how familiar he was with him by the way he was carrying out, the way where the wind blows mentioning. It boggles my mind what the number of excuses they're using in this case. It totally boggles my mind. And again, where the wind blows is hit the nail right on the head. A mother doesn't forget where her kids are. Neither does a father. Neither does a father. That's why right now I'm gonna make three new terms right here. BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded, and whether they end up in the Urban Dictionary or not, that's a whole other story for another day. But I'm gonna take a political acronym, and I'm gonna change it for where it's appropriate. We have minos, mothers in name only. We have finos, fathers in name only. We have pinos, not Pinot Noir. We have pinos, which is parents in name only. You're hearing it right here from me first. So whenever I use those terms, I'm talking about these so-called parents, these so-called moms, these so-called dads who are supposed to be tasked with protecting and caring for these children, but do anything but.
On the ground to go reach in and turn the car off. There's no reason for that. But there's a real good reason to reach inside that car and turn it on. And what you heard Captain Chapman say today is, when we got there, the car was running. The air conditioner was working just like it was working 3 days ago. There was no compression issue with that car, compressor issue with that car. It works. And the air was on, the car was running, but it wasn't cold inside. The air conditioner was going cold, but it wasn't cold inside that car. Why? Because Larry had just turned it on right before the police got there. Why? Because he knew he just murdered that child. That's why. And by the way, what did Rita say when they finally went and got Rita out of the house and brought her out? What did she say? Hallie Godwin testified to this Monday that it was the very first witness. She said, I brought Rita out, and Rita said, we put the child in the car. I went inside to get cigarettes. I came back out, and the car was locked.
And cue the TikTok kid. Where the wind blows. Where the wind blows. I'm asking, are you referring to the child, or were you referring to Rita? So weak she couldn't turn a doorknob, let alone unbuckle a car seat. Are you referring to Christina, or were you referring to Rita? And giving me thumbs up for the terms I was using. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She suffers from cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy. So no, so yes, she was so weak that she couldn't turn a doorknob, let alone unbuckle a car seat. And given the fact, like I said, she suffered from cerebral palsy, she's non-verbal. She's unable to. She was unable to do anything. And her here's Rita, Mino. She makes the lame excuse. She went inside to get a cigarette. Really now? How long does it take to get a cigarette? Make that make sense.
That was her description of what happened. Even Rita didn't say the car was on with the air conditioner running. Because that would have been the very first thing out of her mouth if that was true. Instead it was, oh, this was just a matter of seconds. I went inside to get cigarettes. I came back out, and the car was locked. That was it. Because Rita didn't know they had the camera system. Thank goodness they did. We wouldn't know any better. But we do know better. The child wasn't just in the car for a split second. The child was in the car for 5 hours and 42 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's an awful long time. Everything I have told you so far, you know. No issue, guys. We know. I think we'll worry about that. So you know what happened. The question is before you now is, what do you call it? What is it? You know what it is. You've seen it. You've heard the testimony. The question is, what do you call it? Putting that child in the car to begin with, leaving that child in the car, exposing that child to potential death, was the infliction of injury to that child. It rose to the level of substantial death. The first charge, they did that early. The conspiracy, they did everything together. What about the rest of the 4 hours that the child was in the car? What about the pain and suffering that that child had to endure before they died, as Dr. Vitalis testified to you? We expect at 105 degrees that people start dying. We've all had fevers. You know how bad you feel at 100-degree fever or 101. Child's inside temperature was 110. And Dr. Vitalis said, I'll be honest with you, I think at 104, 105, the brain stops working, the organs start shutting down. She vomited into her throat. She defecated in her diaper. You see that in the crime scene pictures. Her whole body just stopped working. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't expect her to last more than an hour in those conditions. And they put her in those conditions for 5 hours and 42 minutes. So we know about the infliction of serious bodily injury. We know about the conspiracy. What do you call the child's death? Well, murder is the unlawful killing of another with malice. What does that mean? Unlawful killing of another, that's pretty easy. But what's malice? There are two ways to show malice. One is expressed. If you walk up to somebody and say, I hate you, I'm going to kill you, I don't care if you live or die, you shoot them in the head, that's express malice. This case is about implied malice. And what is implied malice? Implied malice is that you can take from the facts and circumstances of the case, what you have seen, what you have heard, what you know about this case, that someone was so extremely reckless that they had a wanton disregard for human life. They may not even have direct ill feelings toward that one individual, but their attitude, their actions, all of the things that they chose to do, all the way they chose to act, all led back to a conscious disregard for the lives of others, and in this case, the other person was Christina, a child totally dependent on them for safety. A wickedness, a depravity, malicious. And we know what malicious is. And so I ask you, as you go back and look at all this, at what point in time in any of this did either one of these two people show an ounce of compassion or care or concern for Christina's life? If they had walked up to her and shot her, she wouldn't have suffered the pain that she suffered in this case.
Objection rather than inflammatory. Matter of law is appropriate.
Objection's overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. 5 hours and 42 minutes of suffering. You see the blisters on her legs, the burn marks from her coming in contact with other parts of that car that was also rose to the level of 118 degrees or 135. She was burned externally and internally. What do you call it? Well, I'll tell you that if you're sitting around talking to your family members and your friends and you're describing this situation to them, you may not talk in terms of legal anything. But I think a good way to describe this is torture. That was torture.
And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is where the prosecutor and I are on the same wavelength. That was torture. To be locked in a car, helpless, for 5 hours and 42 minutes. That is sheer torture. And I have yet another familiar term to you all. I want you all to think about this. If they had left Christina in that car just a little bit longer, say another hour and a half, if she didn't flat out burn up in there, does the term spontaneous combustion ring a bell?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what excuses both Rita Pangalangan and Larry King would have to say, God forbid that were to happen. These two, I mean, I know the prosecutor hasn't sat down from his closing argument yet, but I'm trying to decide now, should I or shouldn't I, in the case of whether I should go on and do the defense's closing arguments. Should I be fair to them? Were they fair at all to Christina?
I have no idea.
I got the lady outlaw here helping me out here as far as keeping me good and medicated, and medicated in a good way, ladies and gentlemen. I'm knowing I suffer from type 2 diabetes. She always watches my intake, making sure I eat all the right things and I don't eat all the wrong things. And she just gave me medication to get down my throat. Now at least she's taking care of me, and taking care of me and supporting me like a good partner should, and I appreciate that. So if you'll excuse me for one brief second. There we go.
Take another one.
So, Lady Outlaw, should I do both of the defense's closing arguments just to be fair?
Yes.
You should. I should, because it's gonna take a while on both ends, because we're dealing with a closing argument from Rita Pangalangan's defense attorney, and you got the closing argument from huh?
As long as you don't go over 3 o'clock, I'm good.
Oh, those two might be a while, because they're coming up with every excuse in the book why they should be set free.
Okay, well then touch on it a little bit, and then move on to the next one.
What's there? I mean, really, what's there to touch on? They're coming up with every excuse in the book where the evidence is like, yeah, right in their face. They came up with every excuse in the book about how about as far as about little Christina's death, and still you know what, guys, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm thinking of just jumping straight to the verdict, straight to Rita Pangalangan's reaction on her verdict and the sentencing, so I can put a nice tidy bow on this. So I'm gonna go right back here. Let's see, rebuttal. Where is her reaction? I definitely want to see this. Give me just a minute, guys. Or as my friend Brittany would say, hold please. That's my shout out to her. Okay, here we go.
Yes, because Lady Outlaw has heard live soon.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and take you straight to the verdict, because I know that's what you all came for anyway. Sweet, sweet justice, right? And as you watch this, as you watch, I want you all to pay extra special attention. I'm laughing because I want you to. I'm almost ready to give out an Emmy. Let me find my disclaimer. There we go. All right. I want you guys to pay special attention to Rita Pangalangan's reaction when she gets her verdict. And note here in the corner that the deliberation took all of 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 15 seconds. Anybody who knows me knows that if a jury goes out and comes back with a verdict, and it takes longer than a day, you might stand a chance, defendants. But in this setting, 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 15 seconds, let's call it, for all of us football heads, let's call this what it is, a missed field goal. Missed field goals, no good. Here's the verdict.
Madam Poor Lady, if you'll stand for me. Have you reached the verdict?
Yes, we have.
Is it unanimous?
Yes, it is.
Okay, if you'll pass it to the clerk, who will pass it to me, and you may be seated. Okay, if the defendants will rise, and Madam Clerk, if you will publish the verdicts.
State of South Carolina versus Rita M. Pangalangan. Indictments number 20, 2019 GS 1500781, 2022 GS 1500710, 2022 GS 1500814. We, the jury, in the above caption, on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Pangalangan, find the defendant guilty. Oh my God.
Rita Pangalangan just got convicted of murder. Say what? Let's run that part, just that part back one more time. Pay close attention to the reaction.
GS 1500781, 2022 GS 1500710, 2022 GS 1500814. We, the jury, in the above caption, on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Pangalangan, find the defendant guilty. Oh my God!
And the award for best shock reaction, Rita Pangalangan. I mean, come on, man. How are you gonna act shocked when you know what you did? When you know exactly what you did, and then when a jury finds you guilty, you're gonna act shocked? Come on, man. This is one of those cases of I was born at night, just not last night. Let's continue on with the verdict.
Oh my God. We, the jury, in the above captioned case, on the charge of great bodily injury of a child, we find the defendant guilty. Oh my God. We, the jury, in the above captioned case, on the charge of criminal conspiracy, find the defendant not guilty. And it's signed by the foreperson.
Yes.
Signed by the
No, you don't need to call the name of the foreperson. Signed by the foreperson. Do
Signed
not.
by the foreperson.
Yes.
State of South Carolina versus Larry Eugene King. Indictments 2019 GS 15-00780. 2022 GS 15-00709. And 2022 GS 15-00813. We, the jury in the above captioned case on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Pangalangan, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury in the above captioned case on the charge of great bodily injury on a child, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury in the above captioned case on the charge of criminal conspiracy, find the defendant not guilty. This is also signed by the foreperson.
Thank you. Madam Lady, and members of the jury, if that is your verdict, please let it be known by raising your right hands. All right, thank you. All hands are raised. The verdict appears to be a unanimous verdict. Any individual polling requested?
Not from the section. No, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you will poll the jury as it relates to the verdicts involving Ms. Pangalangan.
You want me to stand or just?
Just juror numbers stand individually and pose the questions to them. Is this your verdict and it's still your verdict? Numbers, yes.
Now, guys, look. Notice how every time you get a good shot of Rita Pangalangan, she's constantly licking her lips. I'm not gonna assume anything, but maybe it's just me, but I think that's indicative that she could still be on something. Just saying.
Madam Foreperson, jury number 3, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Jury number 147, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict? Jury number 56, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict? Yes. Jury number 5, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Jury number 77, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Jury number 339, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Jury number 58, is this your verdict? Yes. Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Jury number 450, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict? Jury number 32, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Jury number 12, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Jury number 422, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
And jury number 253, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the jury has been polled.
The jury has been polled. It's a unanimous verdict of guilt. Any post-trial motions?
Yes, Your Honor. We would renew all prior motions, initial trial motions, every other motion I've made, as well as the verdict, pre-trial, mistrial, and I'll go specifically through the appropriate time. Renew all motions.
Yes,
No
sir.
objection.
All right. Yes, sir.
Plus, I renew all my trial motions as well as post-trial motions, subsequent to state's motions.
Right.
All motions.
All right, thank you. Any response by the state?
Yes.
All right, the matters were properly submitted to the jury for the jury's consideration. They studied the evidence carefully. The evidence was appropriately placed before them for their consideration. They have reached a verdict that is unanimous, and the court respectfully denies each motion made by each defendant.
And whether required at this time to move for a new trial as well.
Yes, sir. And the court likewise denies a motion for new trial as to each defendant. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all. I know you all didn't know what you had in store coming in here Monday, and you might have come in as spectators and all of a sudden got thrown into the mix and realized that the burden was totally on your shoulders to listen to the evidence and stay focused and go back and deliberate to reach a verdict. Quite obviously, it's a heart-wrenching set of facts and circumstances, extremely terrible, almost unimaginable, but yet these are the facts of life that we have to deal with in today's environment. Some things occur that are so extreme you just wouldn't believe or couldn't hardly believe it to be true, but you've realized through listening to this case that these things happen, and it happened in this case. And I want to thank you for responding to the call of duty, and serving as jurors played a very important and critical function. Certainly, if you had to find yourself being involved in a trial one way or the other, you'd love to have 12 jurors who listen, who takes their job seriously, who deliberated.
So Judge Newman thanking this jury for their hard work in this case. It was difficult to listen to the evidence. We had trouble listening.
Man. So both Rita Pangalangan and Larry King Jr. guilty of murder, guilty of causing great bodily harm, but both were found not guilty of criminal conspiracy. There's only one thing left to do to wrap this all up, and that's the sentencing. So I'm gonna hit that up, and I'm gonna let you guys go, because this was one I promised I'd bring to you, and I'm a man of my word. So ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the last piece of the puzzle. This is the sentencing of both Rita Pangalangan and Larry King Jr. just after being convicted of murdering Christina Pangalangan.
It doesn't help me clarify in my mind who is the most culpable out of this situation, or are they equally culpable? Whose conduct was the most extreme? The mother who abandons her child in that setting and does nothing to rescue the child, who chooses Mr. King and her own pleasure over the child, or Mr. King, who throws the child, or he didn't throw it, places the child in the back of the car and shows no concern, compassion, or anything for the child, and in effect joins with the mother in the treatment of the child. Though it wasn't his child, he initiated his role in it when he placed the child in the back of the car, and when he did nothing to get the child out of the car.
On behalf of Mr. King, in response to
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
all my dealings with him and all my conversations with him, he doesn't want me to point the finger or some way to minimize his involvement or his culpability by saying those these words. Your Honor's heard what he's done.
Yes, sir.
gracefully at the table. He's not.
And I appreciate that. You've said that repeatedly, and I accept it, and I appreciate that.
Well, when Your Honor asks me who is more culpable,
In my mind, I'm trying to make that determination because I'm going to have to sentence each one of them to a period of years. They might get the same. One might get 30, one might get 40, one might get 50. They might each get the same.
to the extent Your Honor was inviting me to point out the reason she's more culpable, Mr. King does not want to do that. He owns his conduct.
I understand. Thank you. And I'm not attempting to pit one against the other. I'm just, yeah.
That's how, from our position, it is. And we agree.
All right. Mr. Solicitor.
I've tried to stay quiet, Judge, and I'm sorry.
I don't like people to stay quiet on me.
I can't. Well, you know, before the case comes to you, it has to go through. They're both here together today because of that. I couldn't make that decision. I could not decide where she worked because the more I looked at the video, which I have done, I assure you, more than just about anybody, even in this courtroom, I just kept getting madder and madder. And honestly, I could not make a determination who I was more angry at. The man who is putting the child in the car and just stands there, or the mother that abandons the child even before we get to that situation. And I've heard the support groups that these people have, and Your Honor, like you, been in a courtroom for a long time. And we deal with a lot of people that don't have any support group whatsoever. And to have it, and to ignore it, I don't think that's mitigation. I think that's aggravation. Sir, I cannot tell you which one is more culpable, but quite frankly, from my standpoint, I don't feel for either one.
What is the penalty for great bodily injury?
20. That's 0 to 20.
Yes, sir. And I looked it up before. I just wanted to be sure. All right, Mr. King, if you'll come around for sentencing. Mr. King, is sentenced to the court on the offense of murder that you be committed to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 32 years. Great bodily injury, the sentence is 20 years. Sentences will run concurrent with credit for any time that you've already served.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you all. Ms. Pangalangan, a lot of folks have said a lot of good things about you and a lot of positive impacts that you've made on their lives. You're not being sentenced to death. You won't be facing a firing squad or a gas chamber or electric chair. Your life goes on, but it'll go on behind bars, and you'll still have that same opportunity to make a positive impact on the lives of other people who you encounter, and I hope you do that. I simply cannot fathom a mother treating a child the way that you did. and allowing that to happen to a child, to your child, the child that you birthed, yeah. I don't know if the child at some point became a burden. I don't know what the circumstances were that would lead you to placing the child in that situation. And as if you left and went to Atlanta, Georgia, or maybe we'll say, not Charleston, to Myrtle Beach, and went there and got in the beach in the water a few hours, and then came back, and then decided that it's a frantic situation. You did it. You have to live with it. And as bad as the conduct of Mr. King was, yours was worse, in my mind. And, you know, you can talk about intent where you have rational thinking minds, but extreme recklessness brought upon by drugs and alcohol. As we said, intoxication is not a defense and not an excuse. That's what, in effect, you're asking, and it's not. Sentence of the court is that you be committed to the State Department of Correction for a period of 37 years on murder, 20 years on great bodily injury. Sentences will run concurrent, and you'll receive credit for time served. Do we have the number of days of credit that they're entitled to?
I think it is. I think the law is clear on that there are two separate sentences. And you're saying this is it, Your Honor.
All right, well, I want to commend everyone for a good and thorough job in presenting your best case that you could present to the jury, and the jury has spoken, and now the court has spoken. And I want to thank everyone for your participation. And court will be adjourned.
And that's pretty much a wrap on that. To recap, Rita Pangalangan found guilty of murder, guilty of causing great bodily harm to a child, not guilty of criminal conspiracy. She's been sentenced to 37 years for murder, 20 years for causing great bodily harm to a child. Those sentences will run concurrently. Larry Eugene King Jr. like Rita Pangalangan, was found guilty of murder, guilty of causing great bodily harm to a child, and not guilty of criminal conspiracy. He's been sentenced to 32 years for murder, 20 years for causing great bodily harm to a child, and those sentences, they will run concurrently. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got 2 words for you. Justice served. Period. I want to thank everybody who came in, joined in on the chat. Thank you so much. This is what I mean when I say that I'm covering everything. I'm covering everything to the best of my ability. Whenever I have updates on certain stories, I will bring that to you. I will bring it to you without the drama, without the added filter. You're gonna get the facts as I got them, and when you get it, I'll leave the opinions to you. Your opinions matter. If those opinions mean that there's going to be a debate coming in, great. I welcome it. Make it lively. Make it fair. I want to make sure that your voice is heard, but at the end of the day, if this channel is about anything, it's all about, above anything else, it's about making sure justice is served. And that's what we got on yesterday, and that's what we will continue to seek as this channel goes on. Again, I want to thank you all so much for joining me on this weekend, and thank you, Dippy Escapes, for that comment. I appreciate you guys too. As I've said numerous times, this little engine doesn't run without you. So thank you a million times over. Let's do this again another time. Same time, same place. This is Bethea's Byte Reloaded, your drama-free true crime destination. I'm Ernest Bethea, the Last Outlaw. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I want you to take that, spread it around, and be good to each other, be kind to each other. As Vinnie Politan would say, don't forget to hug the kids. I will see you again next time. Until then, you know what to do. Bite this. Hey guys, this is the Last Outlaw saying thank you to all who have watched and subscribed to Bethea's Byte Reloaded, your true crime and drama-free destination. I couldn't do this without you. Did you enjoy this video? Are you looking to get more information about what you have seen and heard here? Are you looking to give feedback as to how I can present this better? Here's what you do. Like this video. The more eyes on it, the more this information gets spread to others, which makes it a step closer to justice served. Share this to your social media. Again, with more eyes on this, the closer we get to seeing justice served. Drop me a comment. Whether it's on the topic or the presentation, I will respond to your theories and ideas. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button to show your support for this little true crime engine, powered by you. Set your notifications to all for future videos. Be sure to follow Bethea's Byte Reloaded all over social media. At Bethea's Byte Reloaded True Crime on Facebook. At EKB316 on X, formerly known as Twitter. At Bethea's Byte Reloaded on YouTube. At EKB316 on Instagram. At King of Hearts 316 2021 on TikTok. You can email me at kingofhearts316_09 at outlook.com. This is your home for news without the drama, your opinions, lively debates, your voice heard, and above all else, justice served. This is Bethea's Byte, and it's reloaded.